Okay, well, everyone's online. Got them all logged in. Yeah, so people just keep coming to school. Crazy. Okay, so yesterday I was asking you to do some odd tasks for me. Fish and beer and all that stuff.
Some of our students are still on their way back from this area.
Yeah, they'll have to quarantine. So the fish may not be so good when we get it. Do they know if animals get this disease yet? Have you heard anything about that? I remember someone mentioning it. Of course, that bats, yeah. Good point. I think that's been fairly established. Yeah, fish. Okay, and let's say beer in your fridge for Murphy. And then assuming you don't know already, Brendan, if I ask you, what's the atomic weight of gold? Just tell me where you go to get that information.
Miss Fraser.
Miss Fraser, and what's special about her room? Oh, you have it on a document or some sort of thing. You have some paperwork on this. Very good. And that's been photocopied from some kind of a. Yeah, you didn't make this, did you? Yeah. Is anyone familiar with this right here? Yeah. Maybe much too much. So this is you've got one in yours too.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what it is, by the way? What's gold? AU?
Oh, gold. It's 196.9665.
Right. Okay. So and that probably came from somewhere, didn't it? This utility at the bottom, like. Yeah, this looks like a
EWR International.
All right. This right here.
Sergeant Wells.
Okay. Sergeant. Yeah. Good. All right. If you didn't do that, and I'm imagining that that I believe, as I remember seeing, there's a periodic chart like kind of in the front cover of every chemistry textbook or somewhere. You know, there's pretty easy to get to in the textbook. There's one. I don't know if you guys ever. I don't know if this actually happens. If you see this in a student, I mean, I really only see the teacher's edition. But here you go. So this is a German textbook. This is not science. I mean, this is just German. And there's a page here, but most textbooks have this. And there's a whole list of people here, all from distinguished schools and universities and whatever, who have all like signed off on this textbook. They're called reviewers, or I don't know what else we might call it. And they got people here from all these different colleges, mainly all colleges, universities, and their professors or teachers there. And they've all gone through the book and they've said, this is a solid book for teaching. You know, it's kind of free of any grave error or anything like that, you know, that they go along with it. And that's important. So a teacher wants to see that, oh, well, if all these people from all these colleges like it, then it must be, you know, pretty solid textbook. And I would imagine that's probably true for science textbooks and math textbooks. In theology textbooks, let me see if there's one in here. There's actually, the church has a really kind of formal system. I think this book has it. Yeah, it's on the page here. The book, if it's a Catholic theology textbook, or could be used for that, of course, there's a Latin name for it. It's the Nihil Obstat, or the Imprimatur. And it means that usually a bishop has gone through the book and agreed that it's free of any doctrinal error and, you know, any scriptural kind of error, you know, and that it's solid for teaching about church teaching. And the church has had that so there are some books that do not receive a imprimatur stamp, you know, from a bishop. I think this one here was Bishop Hull of Bishop and Vicar General, Archdiocese of New York. There you go. No, yeah, that's okay. Good. And, right, if a book, if someone submits a theology textbook, they've written to a bishop to be reviewed for that kind of thing, and it gets rejected, then that doesn't mean the book still can't be published. It just means that, technically, a school, Catholic school shouldn't be using it, or university shouldn't be using it for, for teaching. I don't, that probably still happens here. But there, someone could be a heretic or something, or be teaching some kind of crazy out there idea, or even speculative theology, and so it's not really part of church teaching, but it's maybe worthy of study, but it wouldn't receive a stamp then, or imprimatur, as it's called. Anyway, okay, good. So we went right to it, and if you didn't do that, maybe you could go to a textbook and find that chart. You could go right to Mrs. Graves. Maybe she knows off the top of her head. I don't know. You could go over to TU if she wasn't here and find somebody, I'm sure there, who knows. Are they still teaching chemistry at TU? Or is it all computer technology now? I'm sure they are. Did we talk to the other day about that?
Yeah.
TU's like the
I think that's like the only thing that you
IT security. Yeah. Well, okay, so there's really a definite weighting about answering all these questions. And so as I gave those three characteristics that are general, may appear not have any practical use, and then the third one I was saying, that there's no standard way about answering it, a philosophical question, is one that belongs to, and so then if I ask all of you, like I just said, to say, so I give that assignment to Murphy, and I expect I gave the fish assignment to, is that Lydia? Yeah, I think she was here yesterday. It's just like the rapture happened or something. They're just in the blink of an eye. Two were there, now only one. But Lydia, I guess I'm official. The Atomic Way to Gold, and they're all about the same way to do it. But then if I gave like Robbie, and as a Robbie, go find out, what is beauty? Yeah, you may come after class and ask me, hey, where should I start with that? Where do I even start with that? I feel like I got the harder assignment. Can I go fishing in Missouri? Right? I don't know where you go with that. It's where would you go, Robbie? What is beauty? I'll ask you the more specific question. What is the thing, whatever that is, that underlies all things that we call beautiful? What's that kind of underlying thing that makes us all say, oh, that's beautiful? That doesn't make it easier, does it? No. Right. So it's kind of tough. Yeah, but I would think maybe you could talk to an artist, maybe, right? But not even all art is really, every piece of art is, not everybody agrees it's beautiful, right? I think.
Even then, you're saying that artist is the absolute best of what theirs or whatever, or his opinions are.
Yeah, or more valid. Maybe an art professor, someone who really studies art beyond just, in a studio painting, or someone who studies art. Maybe, what about a judge like in a beauty contest? We talk to them also, like a Miss America pageant or something. Or let's be fair, Mr. America pageant. Yeah, what makes something or someone beautiful? Yeah? That's a tough one. That's not as easy. So you see that that's a different road. And if I gave the assignment to everybody, all 6 of you, to go do it, then you'd probably go 7 different directions, and we might end up with 7 different answers too. Whereas Atomic Way to Gold is going to be one way or the other, right? That's one thing we know. Is there beer in the fridge? There either is or there isn't. Are there trout in Missouri? All I need to find is one trout in Missouri, and there's trout in Missouri. That's all I need to find. So those are easier to do. Yeah. So there you see the difference in the two kinds. Generally, the non-philosophical tend to be more objective, and the other ones tend to be more subjective, we would say. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into these things here. Philosophy is a big umbrella over. I'll make it like an umbrella. What is beauty? I'll show you right now. That's kind of a way on the end. Big umbrella, because there's like three, like, I'll say subfields of philosophy. One of them deals with problems, let's say problems pertaining to reality. Somebody got some real problems there. Then we got problems pertaining to value or values, put in parentheses, and also one that deals with problems pertaining to knowledge. From knowledge, that field is called epistemology. With the problems according to or pertaining to values, like I'll say much more about this, but where do we place value? How much value do we place on certain things, and also our own personal values? That all falls into the same part of this. That field is called axiology. And the problems pertaining to reality, that field is called metaphysics.
What does the bottom one say?
Epistemology. Crushed together. All right, bigger. Those are the three fields. Maybe metaphysics you've heard of before, maybe. The other two might be not quite as familiar. Does anyone know where the Peace of Mind bookstore is on 15th Street or on Cherry Street? Or do you know where Kilkenny's is? The restaurant Kilkenny's. You know where Christ the King Church is?
Yeah.
Okay. Directly across the street from Christ the King, which is kind of halfway on 15th Street. Upstairs in that building that has like a restaurant, that's Kilkenny's down there, it's like an Irish pub place and restaurant. Above, there's a bookstore called the Peace of Mind Bookstore. But it's Peace of Mind, P-E-A-C-E. Clever, right? I have to give you a piece of my mind. I would just like to have peace of mind, right? Peace of Mind Bookstore. And it's a, what do you call it? It's like a new age bookstore, You can buy books there on philosophy, and you can buy books there on witchcraft if you want to. You can buy books there on how to read tarot cards, and you can buy a biography of Jean-Paul Sartre or something. And everything in between. Everything in between. It's kind of interesting to go in there and look around. I mean, I don't want to encourage anybody to look at anything they probably shouldn't be looking at. But, it's kind of weird. But, yes. Isn't that strange? It's so that's really the biggest part of it is actually being inside of a bookstore. Yeah. That's been there for a long time. I think it's been there. Well, it's been there as long as I taught here, but it was there long before that. So over 30 years, So they've survived. That was before the internet was pervasive, and somehow they survived the .com and the Amazon. It's a unique niche, though, although you can find all those books, I'm sure, on Amazon. It's kind of a unique little. You can also buy some herbs there and different kinds of incense. I'm sure it's all related to some kind of esoteric beliefs. But anyway, that's not my point. Around the corner from there, but it's related to it, though. They own this house around the corner. Now, I haven't gone check it out in a while, but a few years ago it was there. And on the porch is a sign. I don't know if there's zoned for this or not. It says School of Metaphysics. And it's related back to the Peace of Mind bookstore around the corner. It's back in the neighborhood, a few houses. School of Metaphysics. So maybe we should take a field trip over there. I think we get sucked into some kind of cult or something, But it's funny, the people who probably go to the School of Metaphysics probably have more problems pertaining to reality than most of us do. So maybe they should be there. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was odd as a School of Metaphysics. But okay, all right. Some people want to study that kind of thing. But my bigger point is this: is that metaphysics, the term metaphysics today has been a little bit twisted or the focus of the use of it is a little bit different than what it kind of classically meant, and this is what it classically means with reality. But today, if you say something is metaphysical as an adjective, I had a metaphysical experience, that means you had some kind of experience that goes beyond your understanding of the normal natural universe, right? So generally, books don't like lift themselves off a table and then hurl themselves across a room. But if you look on YouTube, there's some videos of that happening. It's fishing line, I think. Right, William? I think you did that?
Not listening. What are you saying?
I'm talking about paranormal stuff all of a sudden, and you're tuning out? Yeah, so things like that that are of the supernatural world would be things today that are, but that still has to do with reality, though. There's still, I mean, it's not a misuse of the word, but if you hear it today, it more often than not is referring to something supernatural. We have natural things and then things that transcend the natural universe, and that's what we call supernatural. And okay, that's so if you would, we wouldn't look too far this weekend. We have a field trip to church. Let me pick the church up. But there's many churches. Did you know you live in the Buckle River Bible Belt here? There's no excuse for not being in church somewhere on Sunday in Oklahoma. There's a church for you to go to. In the smallest little village in Oklahoma, there's a church. At least a church in Masonic, probably. And a Dollar General a lot. Remember we talked about that? In order to be a town, Oklahoma had a Dollar General, Sonic, and a church. That's the, then you can incorporate. But we could go to some big mega church here in Tulsa on Sunday, on any given Sunday, probably other days of the week too, but Sunday for sure. And we would see people, and we would be standing around people who would be speaking in a language that we don't understand. It sounds like another language, maybe it is, but they're speaking, they're talking right out loud. During this music, during some other part of the worship service, they're speaking in tongues. Wow, this is Oklahoma. We can find that easy. A lot of people do that. I'm not saying it's not true. I don't know. That's not a gift that I've been given. And there are Catholics who are charismatic Catholics. I mean, very much part of the church that also speak in tongues. So it's not just unique to, that'd be harder to find though, but it's not just unique to evangelical churches, not completely. But we could find it pretty easily in Tulsa. And I would say that speaking in a language you've never studied before, an ancient language apparently, or a language of the angels, or language of the Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, that's definitely a metaphysical experience, right? I mean, that's something that transcends the normal. Yeah, I spent a lot of time studying German. It took me a while to get to this point. But just to all of a sudden be doing it like that, well, that's really something. If you were taking up some kind of form of meditation or something, and as you're meditating for 3-4 hours one Saturday, or one Saturday evening between like 7 and 11 or so, I just right. And when you realize when you're kind of close to finishing your meditation that you've been hovering a few inches off the ground for a while. That's a metaphysical experience. That would be a metaphysical. Talk to me about that if you do that. I have a friend who goes to a church and she speaks in tongues there, and I go back to that again. But I asked her one time, yes, sir.
One time I had like one of those like put on and just your breath in the air.
Okay.
Like you'd go up, like wash your hands, and the nuns would be speaking in tongues.
Yeah, where was that? Do you mind if I ask?
It was like near Miami Beach. It was near Miami.
Interesting.
It was like, I don't know where exactly because I didn't have fun the entire week or something like that.
Those retreats are like that kind of.
Yeah.
No, there is a significant. Actually, it's not. But the charismatic movement of the church in the United States is not really focused here, where you maybe think it would be. Where I don't know why, but the rest of the churches seem to kind of have a hub here in this part of the world. But it's really it's on the East Coast. It actually kind of started, or at least where people think, up in Pennsylvania, around Pittsburgh in that area, in the Catholic Church at least. Yeah? I think in the 50s or early 60s. And it's a very strong movement. It'd be a great idea for senior thesis, by the way, if you wanted to look into so these nuns were obviously
Yeah, well,
somehow a part of this.
they teach they taught at my school, my old school, so.
Okay. Are you from Florida?
No, I'm from Peoria, Illinois, but we have like nuns come over.
What part of Illinois? Say it again.
Peoria.
Oh, Peoria. Okay, so up north then. Yeah. My dad's from further down south in Illinois. Mattoon, Illinois, by Effingham, right on I-70. So it's across they say Southern Illinois. There's still a lot more Illinois to go, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's still like all the way to because my dad went to school at SIU.
Oh, wow.
And so that wasn't the closest college. Eastern Illinois was the closest college, but he wanted to go to SIU because that was a party school, and it still is, I think. It's a good school, though. It's a really good school. Good basketball too. Anyway, so my friend speaks, and she told me that she did, and so I asked her because I am curious about it. So if you want to write a paper about it, I'll certainly be happy to read it. But I asked her. I said, "So, do you ever just like speak in tongues, like when you're brushing your hair in the morning?" She said no, and I said, "Well, do you ever brush what about when you're driving down Sheridan, or just in the car by yourself, or you ever just like bust into tongues all of a sudden, like the spirit hit you then?" And she said no. I asked her a couple and I said, so anyway, we narrowed it down. Basically, we narrowed it down to she only spoke in tongues between like 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday and about noon on Sunday, and only in the confines of this church building. And
Why did they say speak in tongues?
um,
Why is it just like another language?
yeah, well, we say that word tongue like that's my mother tongue. When we're talking about a language, I think that might be the root of where it comes from. But also the Greek word for this, what is it? Glossolalia? It's a weird glossolalia, I think, is the word for tongue. And then anyway, plus I think the Bible describes that as like tongues of fire over the apostles' heads when they were speaking, it's different, how people speak in tongues today is, more, I don't know, I shouldn't say that, but more often is that they're speaking in tongues and maybe there's someone to interpret what they're saying, but what I witnessed when I've been to those kind of churches is that there's not, they're just kind of speaking and I don't know what they're saying, so if they were speaking Japanese, it would be the same to me, but when the apostles spoke in tongues, though, you know the story, right? They were speaking in their own language, probably in Greek or I'm guessing probably Aramaic, and they were understood by other people in their own language. So they were speaking their language, and the people, in the Bible, in Luke, mentions all the places the people are from that are in the audience, and they're from all the way from North Africa, to Roman Empire throughout, and they're there and they hear them speaking and they realize they're understanding what they're saying, even though the apostles were speaking in their own language. That's a bit different than what happens typically today. Maybe missionaries who've been overseas could tell different stories, that they've spoken in English and have been understood in remote languages somewhere. Yes, go ahead.
Well, one time, my teacher freshman year told me, like, when we were talking about this, because we had the New Testament.
Yeah.
He's like talking about, he's like, yeah, sometimes speaking in tongues can also be influenced by the devil, because like one time I heard someone speaking in tongues and I understood what he's saying, and he was saying blasphemy.
Well, you understood what he was saying?
I didn't.
Oh, someone
did.
Someone did, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
he's telling us a story about that.
can we agree that either way, if it's the devil or the Holy Spirit, it's a metaphysical experience? It's supernatural, what's happening, for better or for worse. Yeah, well, that's what we're told, right? Satan can mimic all these things if he wants to. So. He also knows all the scriptures, too. So people are quoting scriptures to you like that, they'll be too impressed. Satan knows all that stuff, too, so. All right. Okay, so enough of metaphysics, yeah. Well, not enough about it, but just to give you an idea what it means. And if you hear the term today, it seems like they're talking more about these esoteric things, spiritual type things, than they are about maybe kind of classically. So let's talk more about metaphysics as it's like meant to be. It deals with reality, of course, and it asks the question, what is real? What is real and what is reality? Simple as that. Some people have a problem with reality. Some people live in alternate universes, perhaps, or they operate in an alternate universe, so that they feel like things are different. Of course, there's mental illness. I don't want to include that here. That's a whole different issue. But there are people who, just believe things are different than what they appear to the majority of people to be reality. And that kind of gets to a little bit of the problem. Like, what defines reality? Is it what the majority of people think it is? And then we kind of follow that lead of, well, there's only two people saying that, and they're a little bit off balance, it seems. But everyone else is saying, this is what's going on, so I'm going to believe that's what's the truth. It gives us, it would be an awful thing to be the two or three people who are saying the crazy thing, but actually they're right, and the other people are all leading us the wrong way. Yeah, well, but that's the part of the question. What is real? What is reality? One of the things that comes up under this field is this. I'm going to draw a line here. Under metaphysics is a discussion about appearance versus reality. So what appears to be real and what is in fact real. So I'm going to use one of my favorite examples, which I probably will use many more times. Some guy is out in the woods, and let's just say he's in the Great Northwest, William. Let's say Washington State. And he's out there hunting, and he sees something moving in the woods, and he doesn't see any orange vest or anything like that, so he puts a scope of his rifle on this thing, and he sees a extremely large, let's say 8 foot tall, 700-pound, upright walking, humanoid-like person, but covered in hair. And he's like, what the heck? So remember I told you yesterday about this pareidolia, like your mind would try to, that's not a part of the registry in your mind, or most people's minds, would be, what is that thing? What is that? And you would begin to, your mind would go through like a file cabinet of ideas very quickly of, so really, maybe they would think it's a guy wearing a ghillie suit or something, like some kind of, or maybe, maybe it's just a really hairy guy who lives here in the woods, and he's just, he's got some kind of a follicle issue or something, and that's why he lives in the woods, maybe. So you don't pull the trigger on that, maybe, because you don't want to, I don't know. And maybe it's a bear standing upright. Because bears can do that for a while. Not real long, but for a while. They can stand up, they can't move forward very well. But anyway, after a while, you're following this thing, and it's definitely walking only on 2 feet, walking freely around just like a person. It's in gait and stride and all that. But it's huge, and you realize, I don't know what this is. And then you realize you're looking at Bigfoot then. Now we're back to Mini Monster. Then it's Bigfoot, Murphy. And you're like, I just saw Bigfoot. Like, well, it appears that you did, right? It appears that you did. But it may not be what you really saw. Well, it may not be. You may be having a metaphysical issue. Not a spiritual one, but just of what appears to be real and what is actually real. It may actually be that, but, all right. So, when I was a kid, like 8 or 9, maybe 10 years old, I saw this movie that was about Bigfoot. It was like a pseudo documentary. As I look at it now, back when I saw it, I thought it was just like a completely scientific film, at 9 or 10. As I look at it back now, I realize it's just kind of a pseudo documentary, with a lot of pseudoscience too. But I went home to my mom and I said, Mom, there were people who were on, in the movie who were real people who were they were saying that they saw it, like they saw it. They saw it on their property, they saw it walking across their lawn. They saw it back behind their house in the backyard. It was taking a deer, and there's all these people. They said they saw that. And as a kid, like as a, say, 9-year-old, that was enough for me. Like that was, I'm in. Like that was, Mom, they said they saw it. What do you want? And my mom was like, Kevin, I don't know. Just because they saw something doesn't, and that didn't compute with me. Like, Mom, they're real witnesses. Like, what else do you want? And well, turns out she needed a lot more than that to convince her. Still to this day. But yeah, so just because it appeared to your Uncle Joe, who lives out in the woods on a dirt road that goes 3 miles back off the main road, and you don't really know what he does, but he shows up kind of drunk to holidays. I don't know, and he says he saw this thing in his backyard. He asked about his probation. How's your probation going, Uncle? I'm just sorry. There are actually a lot of maybe more sober and credible witnesses, perhaps. But, some of them are not so sober and credible. So what's real? No, not the most reliable thing. But it appears that way. Maybe if I were there, I'd think the same thing. Good. So what appears to be real and what is actually real? Another question that comes up under metaphysics would be, is there a baseline of reality? Is there, the whole time you're alive and before you're alive and after you're gone, is there a solid, steady baseline of reality that we're either a part of or we're not a part of the whole time that we're here on this earth? Maybe we're never on that line, yeah? So here's your baseline for reality, here's your death, here's your birth, and it's been going on before that, and it's going to go on after that, and then you're born, and then you're kind of, maybe you're on the line for a while, and okay, and then you're on it for a little longer, and then you get older, and you drop off. There you go. Yeah, and maybe there's 7 billion of these lines, and there is no baseline. Right? And our lines cross every once in a while, and we interact with each other on the same plane of reality, and then we understand things, we see things the same way. But maybe it's not. Maybe there's not 7 billion lines. Maybe there's just one, and we're a part of it, or we're not. Maybe some people stay on the line the whole time, and some people are never on it. So, all right. Again, going on with appearance, another question is I won't say problem, but the issue of the external world, the world that's external to your mind. So what's in your head, what you are thinking and all that, you get that, and you have ideas about things and concepts of things, but then there's the world outside the mind. So I can have a concept of a flag and an idea what a flag looks like and is shaped like, and generally kind of colors the flags have, not all, but most. And then I can look back there and say, yeah, those are flags. Those are flags. They're not all the same, but they're different kinds of flags. And the colors tend to be red, white, and blue, maybe some black thrown in, maybe some gold, but that's typically what they look like. So there's an external world, and then how do we process that, and then how do we relate to that from our heads to the actual physical world then? How do we relate to that from mind to physicality then? Along with that, really similar to that, just a different step to the side, is the problem of us, of the self, we'll say, of our being, and our consciousness, we'll call it that, or our awareness of our being, of our existence, and how does that fit into this reality? How do I think about that, or do I think about that? You probably do at some level, but what do we mean when I say me, or I'm talking about my physical body, spirit, mind, all those things? What do I mean when I say that? So, and there's a couple of ideas. Of course, you know this already, but where you have well, I'll say this, that some people have a belief in dualism, that you have a physical body, but that's not everything. There's a very important element that's not so visible, and there's a spirited part of your body, there's a spirit part of your body, there's a soul to your body that's attached to you in some way. And that's equally as important, or close to that. It depends on your own beliefs. But so there's this duality, of the spiritual or the idealistic and the physical. The physical part's easy to discern, and we can study that, and it's very tangible. The other side is, but there's that belief, and then the other one, kind of competing view, would be one of materialism, that would not believe in the spiritual part of you, but just believes that you're a material being, a physical, organic structure, and you're here right now, but you won't always be here, and there's nothing more to you than just, you're going to have this life, and then materialism says that you then pass away, and then you become food for worms at some point, and you're whatever happens to your body after that. William, I watched a documentary of this thing. Sorry, I'm a little bit off topic here. I thought about the food for worms thing. Of this scientist took a deer that had been killed, actually hit by a car, and killed. And the car was okay, by the way.
That's good.
Yeah, that's usually the reverse, right? And they took this deer and they tied it down like to the ground with like these straps and with these spikes in the ground, so nothing to like carry the whole thing, or just like drag it away, like a bobcat or a mountain lion could just take it away over there. And they had a camera on it, like a time-lapse camera. And do you know how long it took for the whole like carcass and everything to be like gone?
How long?
It was a normal sized deer, it wasn't like a huge stag or something, but it was, what do you think?
A week.
It was 7 days. Yeah. It's just, and it's unbelievable how fast nature takes care of that.
The coyotes are hungry animals.
Yeah, but the maggots get like a big chunk of it, like they eat it from the inside out, and then, but these animals come and they drag the bones away. But the question is, I'm not a hunter, but the hunters will tell you, I think I've been told by, that they don't come across skeletons or carcasses in the forest very often. In the desert, you might, because there's less, but in the woods, like, is that true, William? Have you ever come across
some bones.
some bones?
Yeah.
Are they scattered though, or are they like
Spine,
still put together? Yeah,
I mostly find stuff like that in the woods.
Or antlers.
antlers, okay.
I mean, I've gutted a deer and the guts were gone in just over a day, and you couldn't tell where it was.
That's just, this video, it's really something to watch, like it's just gone. And even the scientist said she thought it would take 30 days before it was completely, like there was almost like no evidence on that spot. But all that's left are just the straps, so they didn't take those things away. But it's really something. Yeah, food for worms. Well, luckily, they put it in a sealed box usually.
Like a way of
Go ahead, Ty.
like mounting, doing one of the deer mounts, like with just the skull, and you just strap it to a tree and leave it there for a week, and everything will eat all the flesh off of it.
And just leaves the trophy then? Uh-huh.
Put down,
Huh, I didn't know that. So you really gotta get to, if you shot a deer and it was just injured and you couldn't find it and then it ran off, then it's gonna bleed out, probably eventually. And then it'll just be coyotes and, See, I don't know much about that stuff. What time is it? We're almost done, huh? Okay. The last part was not part of the course, that was extra. And there'll be no extra fee on your tuition for that information either. Tell your parents. Have a good weekend.
Rubber band.
What's that?
Rubber
I do not have a rubber band, but I've needed to get I need some rubber bands. Wait. I got one rubber band. Look at this, just so I hear it. Might be kind of old, but
It's okay. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Okay, everyone, I see you. All right, Nick, I got you. Wow, we got all these people on here.
How many people are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, no, wait, maybe I cut the count someone twice. Maybe 7 or 8.
Should say down there.
More people than you do.
Well, I'm on a different program.
I guess.
All right, guys, have a good. Let me see. There you go. All right, guys, have a good weekend. I won't see you Monday, probably.